switch it over in a minute.
Okay, hey guys, this is Bruce, and welcome to another live Convocourses podcast. And today I've got a special offer for those who are interested in it. I do this maybe every couple months or so, um, but I have a book that's for free for a limited time for about 4 days left on it, and it's for FISMA compliance, Federal Information Security Modernization Act, which is like one of the main things that we base our security on in the U.S. federal government. And that book is free for a limited time until it's for promotional purposes. So I'll keep it cheap for some time because I'm trying to get reviews. So if you happen to be an avid book reader, or even if not, you can just go to the link in convocourses.net. And the first link on the top, it'll say discounted promo book. Go there and then just leave me, go through the book, of course, and leave a 4-5-star review. And that's really helpful. But I do this every now and then. And because I get so much reception here, I continue to put out free books, free courses, free downloadables, free, because people are like saying, hey, man, thank you so much. This really helped me. And as long as people appreciate it, then I'm willing to continue to do free stuff, promotional stuff, especially for people who follow me on a regular basis. If you didn't know, I also have like a advanced readers link. So that right there, you get everything free. You get ebooks free, all kinds of stuff for my advanced readers. So, all right, with that, let's get right into today's topic of conversation. I was here earlier, and I was at one of my other businesses, and I had to knock some stuff out. So that's why I'm starting a lot later than I normally do. I'm gonna keep this open topics, and anything you guys want to talk about. I'm an insider. I'm a cybersecurity guy. Mostly I do GRC, which is like a non-technical version of cybersecurity. Now, if you're thinking about, you probably thinking to yourself like non-technical cyber, that doesn't even make any sense. So cybersecurity is a lot bigger than people have been led to believe. Like, it's huge. It's not just hacking. It's not just forensics. It's not just, you don't have to be a programmer. There's a lot of different parts and pieces to cybersecurity as a whole. There's a whole nother section of it that people never talk about, called GRC, and that's governance, risk, and compliance. Some of it is very technical, like the risk part is super technical. You got to be pretty technical. Be very deep in many different things to do the risk part. But there's also compliance, and compliance is mostly documentation. It's mostly things like my free book. It's talking about actual compliance. One of the things that a federal organization, has to be compliant with, which is called FISMA. It's a Federal Information Security Modernization Act, and that was established in 2014. It amends the 2002 FISMA, and that is what we have to be compliant with. So for that, you don't have to be super technical with that. I mean, you've got to know IT stuff. Okay. Don't get it twisted. Like, you do have to know something about cybersecurity, IT, something about cybersecurity, but you don't have to be super technical, meaning you don't have to know how to do a firewall rule. You don't have to know how to be super deep on networking. There might be a job that requires that you do GRC and policy stuff that you would need to be more technical. There are jobs like that, but there are some that are non-technical. Like, you don't have to be super duper technical and hands-on to do it, and they're still paying like 6 figures. And you might be like one of my coworkers that said he hated IT, hated security, and only reason he's doing it is to get the 6 figures so he can go do a business. Like, he was using the money from his job to go do something he really loved, which was like real estate. So you can do that. That's something I do on the side. And I happen to love IT and cybersecurity and tech and stuff. There's things about it I don't like, but overall, I like being in this field. It's been very helpful to me and my family. It's allowed me to travel the world. It's allowed me to do just amazing things with my life and actually help many other people, whether they know it or not. Like I'm helping many people in my family, my extended family, some friends, apt strangers like are getting helped by not only stuff I'm giving away and knowledge and books and stuff, but like literally I'm walking people how to get this job, or I'm giving people jobs, and I can only do that if I did this field. So that is some of the rewards, and that's some of the things that I like. That's why I endorse. Like I'm telling you, like this is one of the most lucrative, amazing rides that I've taken in my life. There's not many things I could point out and say that thing was very successful. This is one of them. This career path that I've chosen is one of them. And there has been bad days. There's some days I hate doing this stuff. Like there's some employers I've had that they made my life a living hell. But overall, man, I'm getting paid. So, and that money has allowed me to do all kinds of things that I would like to do in my life and help other people out. So let me see. I've got some questions coming in. I really appreciate it. That's what this one's all going to be about. It's going to be about you guys. Any questions, comments, complaints, anything you have. I really love to hear from some of the old heads in here who've been doing this for a while, who have something to say and add to the discussion. Like if you have anything, like please help people out. Remember, there's a lot of people who do not know what you know, and you have a skill set that you're very lucky. You have a skill set that many people don't, and that some people are trying to get into this field. So if you have something to say, like you should definitely chime in and add to the discussion, like many people have. All right, let me see. Somebody asked me, what is a top tier cybersecurity roles? It depends on what you mean by top tier cybersecurity roles. So if you mean top tier as in paid the most, or top tier as in has the most control, or top tier as in just like I would recommend it. Like this is like a high level. I'll cover all three of those, right? Because I'm not sure what they mean, but let me see if they expanded on that. No. So top tier. So number one, let me start with what I believe is a top tier position. I started off as a police officer in the military. I was an MP. I was a security forces person. So we did mostly physical security. Then I cross trained or changed my rate, or changed my MOS, as the Army would say, to another field, which was a computer operator. And in that field, I did many different things in the military as a serviceman. I did help desk. I did a little bit of network engineering. I did a little bit of risk management framework and GRC stuff in the military. You can call it that. Back then, call it something different. But I did all those things. Then when I got out, I did network engineering. I was a Unix administrator for a while. I did so many different jobs in there. But mostly, I did cybersecurity analyst, and I was a SIEM engineer. And then right now, my bread and butter, the thing I do have the deepest depth skill on would be risk management framework, which is GRC stuff. I say all that to say, in my journeys throughout this field, the top tier people, meaning most skilled, most talented, most like looked up to as a technical person, has definitely been architects. And it's something you probably, if you're not in this field, you probably just never heard of it. But architects usually are the top tier people. Like these are guys that are usually, they're really smart in several different areas. And they have to be very mature because they have to be in different high level meetings. They have to know, got to be not only a mile wide, but they got to be like, very deep in many different things, or just be able to pick up stuff really fast. There are people who know networking really good, a little bit of software engineering, and they know risk management framework super good. They know those two things, and they can put them all together and say, here's how your network should look. And here's why you shouldn't do this and why you shouldn't do that. And architect or put together an organization's entire network. Those would be the people who I've always been like, wow, that's impressive. Every place I've gone to, they have one of these architect type people. And even if they don't call them an architect, they don't hold the title. Sometimes they call them information system engineers. Sometimes they call them, I don't know, system engineers or whatever, but they're usually somebody who is really smart in 2 or 3, maybe 4 different things. They're like a polymath in several things. It's always impressive for me to see. And that's something I don't feel like I have the talent to do some stuff like that. I mean, I probably could do some rudimentary, cartoon drawings of an architecture, but some of these guys are just so sharp that I'm always blown away by them. So for me, though, that's like the upper echelon. And I don't say CIO or manager, because for me, that's just a job. I mean, that's just my perspective, right? Just the architects for me are like on this pedestal. And there's architects in network engineering. There's architects in software engineering. There's architects in cybersecurity. There's architects that do just firewall and network security implementation. So there's all kinds of, thanks. There's all kinds of network architects. And you know what? What they all have in common is they're always super talented in several different areas, and they can put everything together. So in my mind, the top tier cybersecurity roles is that architect. Now, most people who are not weirdos like myself would say top tier would be a CISO. A CISO is a chief information security officer or a director of security or something like that. They're literally the apex predator in security in any unit. They're the top person. They're the lead person that the CEO goes to, the CIO goes to. Sometimes it is the CEO or CIO. They're also the CISO, who's a lead security. Most people would say, well, that's the upper level, upper tier cybersecurity person. And sometimes it is. Like sometimes that guy's the architect. In my mind, if they're an architect and if they're architecting stuff and then they're deep in several areas, and that for me, that's really impressive. But CISO probably be another one that would be considered a top tier cybersecurity job. Top paid it just depends on the organization. It's usually the CIO or CISO that's the top tiered as far as cybersecurity is concerned. Because they're, a C-level exec, those guys are making crazy money. So those are the top tier roles. Whenever you see architect, that means that person really knows their stuff. If you ever see CIO or any kind of C-level, that person's the real deal. Like they usually, they might not be super technical sometimes, but they're very smart on like office politics, or they're very smart on how to run an organization, or they're very, very, very mature and know how to talk to people in a way that there's a leader. There's a leader. So that's just my 2 cents on that. Let me see. I got some other people talking to me here on TikTok. Somebody said, can taking the CYSA Plus help my transition to cloud security? I suppose it could be kind of helpful, but there, you got to remember what I want you to understand. There are 2 different things. See, a CYSA, as you probably already know, since you're already taking it, is more like a SOC analyst, a security operations center analyst. So they're monitoring data and traffic across the line. That's their main focus. I am a cybersecurity analyst. I'm looking and monitoring security events, security incidents, events that are coming across my monitor. That's my main focus. Whereas a cloud security person, it depends. That's a very broad term, because you got cloud security engineers who maybe are hooking up AWS and making sure that the security is installed in there. And then you got people who maybe you've got cloud security operators who they don't necessarily know how to implement and start a cloud instance, but they know how to secure them. So you have different. So they're 2 different things is what I'm getting at. One is kind of an analyst, and one is focusing on cloud. Where they overlap is where it can help you. So the place that they overlap is the common body of control, the common body of knowledge for cybersecurity in general. So I'm sure you're going to learn protection of CIA, which is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So the basics of security is also going to be the same in cloud security. So where they overlap is where it'll help you out. So all those basic things you probably already know, or when they break down what is confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and how you would protect those three things in an organization, you'll see that same stuff in cloud security as you will see in CYSA Plus. So that is where it can help you out. So yeah, it can help a little bit, but they are two different things. Somebody said y'all hiring. I'm very I don't have a lot of what I hire contractors. Like if I need somebody to help me edit or do content, help me with content, that's kind of what I need help with. Like these books you see behind me, like these are sometimes I need somebody to help me format it or to read through it and critique it or help me with the cover or something like that. So I'll choose a person to do one project, and that's why I'm able to do so many things, because I'm working with a team of people to help me with this, which is what I did with the FISMA compliance book. It's a team of people. That's what it's called. It's from Convocourses, because it wasn't just me. It was with the help of other cybersecurity professionals, came together and just broke it down in the most simplest form possible. And so if you're interested in something like that, in a breakdown that doesn't have legislative speak or legalese in it, go ahead and pick up the book. It's free to download on KDP right now. That's gonna change. Early stages, it's a promotional thing, so I'm looking for people to put reviews on. If you put reviews on, man, I'll send you a whole bunch of other stuff that I have for free that's not necessarily free to everybody else. So go ahead and check that out. Let me see here. See what else we got here. Other comments. I already did one of these earlier, so I'm not going to be too long on this. But if you guys have anything at all you want to talk about live, I've been doing cybersecurity a long time. I could tell you the real deal on this field. If you want to get into IT, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on from a real perspective. It's beyond trying to sell some stuff to you. Like, I'm going to tell you the truth, because this is not for everybody, to be honest with you. If you want that bag and you're willing to do the work to get it, then yeah, you should do it. Okay. What do you recommend to protect a web application open to API request, IIS? So I am not a web application guy. And I know a couple guys who are web application guys. I really cannot specifically tell you and break down how to do it. I will say this: in general, you definitely want to do some sort of a scan on any kind of web application, at the very least. So for those who don't know, a web application is software that's usually has a front-facing user interface. Think of your bank. If you have a mobile app, you go on there and you want to transfer money on your bank, right? You go to your mobile app and you scrolling through, and it's got a user interface. It tells you, first of all, what bank it is. It's you have a user, like, what is your username? What is your password? And then can you use your fingerprints to get in there? That's the user interface. How do you get in? Then once you get in, there's another portion of it, right? It has one. Here's your insurance policy. Here's if it's tied to your bank. Here's your checking account. Here's your savings account. It has it all laid out. That's a web application. You can also go to the web, literally go on the internet, go type in HTTPS, hopefully, and then be able to log in there. That's a web application. It's a web application. Now you have internal and external web applications. Now you also have some in the DMZ, but first, internal. Like, if your organization has internal websites that's only for employees, only for people and contractors inside of your network, nobody outside is going to be able to, if they are not authenticated on the network, if they didn't authenticate to get in, if they're not employed, they should not be able to see that internal web page. Now, why would you have an internal web page? Employees have to sign their time card, or maybe it's for informational purposes that's only for employees, or they're going to tell you where parking is and they have a website to do that or whatever. So that might be done with a web app. My internal web app, right? An external one would be customer facing. You might have like airforce.com has one for recruiters, like for if you want to sign up to be in the Air Force or whatever, or get more information. Maybe they say, hey, give us your name and we'll send you more information. Log in here, have register here. That's still a web application. So a web app, that's a web application. Now I'm probably preaching to the choir here. You already know what one is. So here's the thing. These things can be highly, highly vulnerable. At the very least, you need to run a scan on it. The scan, and you've got many different vendors that can run a scan on a web application. One off the top of my head is called Web Inspect, but there's many different ones. So you run that scan and it'll tell you a breakdown with priorities of what are the vulnerabilities to your web. What you do is you'll take the URL, internal, external URL. You will put that into the web scanner, the vulnerability scanner, and then it's going to go to your website and it's going to attempt to do very common. It's going to start off with very common hacks like, can I do a buffer overflow to overload the entries, the text fields? Can I do do they set limits on the entries on the text boxes? Do they validate the information that's being put in the text boxes? Is there HTTPS? If there needs to be HTTPS on that particular page, especially if it's customer facing, is there secure is there secure communication between the web application and the backend database? Is there a backend database? And if there is one, can you do an SQL injection attack? The scanner is going to find all that kind of stuff. So at the very least, you need to do a scanner. Now, I'm not a web app security guy, but I'm just telling you basic things. At the very least, you want to run a scan on it and do your own testing internally to see like if it's easy to hack or get around it and stuff like that. And then also you'd want to see if it's in line with your policies, whatever company policies you have. One of the things in FISMA and NIST 800 is that you're supposed to have a banner. Whenever you have a web application, it's supposed to have a banner that pops up. It's supposed to have certain information in there. And then are you supposed to hit, allow the user to hit OK and consent to being monitored or whatever your message is right there. And then you get into that web application. That's one of the compliance things that you have to do. And there's many other compliance things. So I don't know much about it, but I know at the very least you should always run some sort of a scan on it, whether it's internal or external, especially if it's external. If it's external, meaning it's on the internet. Like right now, you and I can ping that website or go to the website and start typing stuff in. It has to be scanned. Absolutely has to have an assessment on it, because otherwise you're wide open. Those things are constantly getting hacked. So that's all I got to say. I'm not a web application security guy. I know very basic stuff. What was your first cybersecurity job, and did you need experience? Wow, that's a great question. That's the right question. My first cybersecurity job was in the military. And in the Air Force, I did not need experience. They taught us on the job training. So that was my very first cybersecurity job. I'm thinking some of my friends, I've got quite a few peers over the years who've been doing this for as long as me or longer. And some of them didn't even go to the military, right? So I know a friend of mine, his first cybersecurity job. Let me think of a couple here. That's not military. One of them started in college. Like he was in college, was taking IT courses and stuff, and he was a working student. So that's his first exposure was, and he didn't have experience. His first exposure was working, like helping them to image systems or fix, take viruses off of computers. Now, I will say, like what I was doing as an MP, as a security police officer doing physical security, I was messing around with my computer all the time. I was a nerd. I was taking my computer apart, putting parts in it. I was doing all kinds of stuff, but I was missing quite a big chunk of common body of knowledge. Like I didn't know the landscape. I could mess around with computers, I could build them and stuff, but I didn't know. There was certain nuances I just didn't know until I started cracking books open and reading. So one of the most important things before you start is to know basic IT stuff. Is super important. I'm trying to think of some other friends of mine who started off, because I do have some friends who started off in like customer service. I had one friend, he started off in customer service, meaning he was taking calls and they were like doing insurance or something. And then they had an opening in his job to do like help desk, the basic help desk stuff. And he started off doing that. No experience of IT, but he started doing that and he did it for like 2-3 years. And then he was proficient at it. He was good at it. And then they leveled him up to like a supervisor. So now he was handling not only people in his organization, peers in his people who's supervising, but he was handling each one of their problems and their tickets and helping. Like he was doing like tier 2 type stuff. Like tier 1, meaning the person who picks up the phone and walks you through, turn off the router, now turn it back on. Do you see the blinky light? Like then he was like the person above that who's handling harder problems. And he just kept leveling up from there. I'm trying to think of another person who started off. Most of them started in school in some way. I have met a few people who started off as like doing what's it called? The guys who come to your house and hook up your router. Like they were working for like a cable company. They started off doing that, like laying cable or hooking up the router in the house, and then their path to IT was to do like network. They start getting proficient in networking because it's an easy step up from doing that stuff, hooking up people's cable modems, and then stepping up to networking, because actually you're already doing fundamental, like very basic networking stuff. So yeah, so you can get in there. I mean, it is possible, right? Everybody starts from something, I mean, everybody starts from has to start somewhere, and we start off as babies. We don't know anything, and so we have to learn somewhere. So I always suggest that you start where you are, whether you're in retail, healthcare industry, banking. Every industry has an IT department. You should start there. You should look on their career page, ask internally if they have some way to laterally move, because that's what I did. Laterally move from whatever job you're doing to that tech job. I mean, listen, I was a jarhead, man. I was a weapon specialist. All I knew was guns. Like I did that for 4 years straight. I could take a M60 apart, blindfold it, and put it back together. I've done it so many times. I'm not trying to brag. It's nothing to brag about. M60 is an old ass weapon. I can't do shit on the outside of the military with that information. Like I can't do anything. Nobody even uses an M60 anymore. And that's what I did. Anyway, if I can do it and go into IT, that's, anybody can do it. Okay, someone said, which would you recommend? A CYSA plus versus a blue team cert for a SOC analyst position? I've never heard of a blue team cert, and I don't know which organization you're talking about who does that. I could look it up real quick, but I do know what a CYSA plus is. That said, with certifications, and I'm just going to keep it 100% real with you guys. Certifications is a piece of paper that's going to get you hired. It says nothing of your intelligence. It says that you passed a test. I'm not trying to be mean, but It's just a piece of paper. That said, you want to, and not to say, listen. You have CISSP, you have a Security Plus, you have a CCNA, a CCNP. Listen, that's saying something. So now everybody can pass that damn test. All right. So that does say something. And especially if you actually learned it, like if you really got in deep, or you have it's backed up by 5-6 years of you doing work. Of course, listen, of course it's helped. Like, of course that's very meaningful. But what I mean is, there's an aspect of certifications in IT that it serves as a way to compete with your peers. Right. So I just want to qualify what I'm saying. I want you to understand what I'm saying here. Because this is a person who's I have a lot of certifications. But what I'm saying is, it's not an IQ test, right? It doesn't. I've met plenty of CISSPs, which is like the golden ticket of certifications for security, right? I mean, there's better ones out there, or more skill is shown, or whatever. But that one right there, everybody knows what it is. I've met some dumbass CISSPs. I met some CISSPs who don't know anything. I mean, some would argue I don't know shit, and I would agree with you. I mean, I don't know shit. I mean, I'm learning still. I love to learn. So, and I'm a CISSP. So what does that tell you? It's not an IQ test. It doesn't mean, it's not going to put you above anyone else, but it is competitive. That said, people need to know what that certification is. So let me get to my point here. My point is, I don't know what the certified blue team level is. So more than likely, other people won't know what it is either. Now, I'm assuming you're talking about this one. I'm about to show it on my screen here. Because I Googled it because I don't know what it is. Whenever they're hiring people, whenever they, them, the anonymous they, them, the whenever organizations, technical recruiters, human resources, HR departments, or headhunters, whatever, are looking for people, they're looking for specific things, and certifications sometimes is one of those things. If you have a certification that they've never heard of before, they're not even looking for that. Do you get what I'm saying? So that said, let me answer your question. So a CYSA plus is probably going to be better. It's going to be better to put on your resume because people know what it is. I don't know. I'm not that smart. So blue team cert. A couple people on these lives have mentioned it to me, but I'm just telling you, the market may not know what it is. Does that make sense? CYSA plus is pretty popular. It's coming from CompTIA. Anything from ISACA, CompTIA, ISC2 squared, eCouncil, Cisco. These are huge names in the certification market. And there's many others, Google, Amazon, you name it. There's plenty. Oracle have some of the biggest certs that people are looking for all the time. But some of them are new, like brand new companies. And there's literally hundreds, maybe even thousands of companies pumping out certifications. Right? I could put out a certification. I could totally come up with a certification called Convocourses GRC, right? Which would be dope. It would be fire. It could be fire. Like if you have this certification, you definitely know how to do NIST 800, ISO 27001, and PCI DSS and all this stuff, right? But nobody knows what it is. So if you put it on your resume, that headhunter's not going to know what Convocourses or my certification is. It doesn't mean it's bad. It's just, it's not known in the market. So I would say CYSA plus is a better way to go. It's more known. I know it. Like, as soon as you said, I was like, okay, yeah, that one right there, I associated immediately with SOC analyst position. Blue team might be a fire ass certification, but I I haven't heard many people talk about it within the government or within the cybersecurity IT, department. I'm sure people are. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's great, but I haven't heard of it. So maybe get both. Maybe get the CYSA Plus, and then later on, because Blue Team is better, get that one. It's kind of the same thing with the SANS. SANS has some of the most brilliant people I've ever met have SANS certifications. It's so damn good. I had no idea they're cranking out so many badass MFs. I had the pleasure of working with a few of them in and out of the military. I don't know what the hell they're putting in the water with the SANS certs, but man, most of the people I've talked to who have a SANS cert really know their shit. And I'm impressed. I'm like, damn, this guy really knows. I can't say the same thing about CISSPs. I can't say, I just can't say that, because not all of them I've met know anything. Some don't. Like, they're not. I mean, sometimes they're a mile deep in like one area, and so maybe I'm being too judgmental about it. Let's see. How to secure IIS server. Okay, I can't. I'm not a. Somebody said web inspect. Thank you. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. So see, some of these people here know what's up. Oh, okay. It's because I mentioned web inspect. Yeah, definitely scan that shit, man. Definitely scan that stuff. So I could tell you, at all the organizations I've worked at, private sector, public sector, government work, big multinational global companies I've worked for, if there's a web application, man, you have got to scan it, man. You have to, and they all do. Like, unless they learn the hard way, like they didn't scan it, and it's just they literally put a gateway right into their network, right? That you can do a Google search to find it. Like, you can literally, I'm not exaggerating. There's Google searches you can find web applications on the internet that are not secure, that have default passwords. I'm not telling you anything that hackers don't already know. So you have to scan your web applications, and all the major players do it, or they learn the hard way. Let me see here. Oh, I'm reading through a good conversation here. Because big gay Mike, how you doing, man? Big gay Mike says, learn OSI model. Learn OSI model, how programs work, get comfortable with the command line. That's really great advice for beginners. Really, really great advice. Command line is super important. Command line is I don't know how to explain it. It's it doesn't look pretty. It's just literally a line of text, and you're typing in commands into a black prompt or a blue prompt. I mean, a blue field, and you're typing commands directly into the computer. All the movements you do on a graphical user interface that looks pretty, like when you're on your phone, or if you're on a website or whatever, or if you happen to be on your computer, like even on your desktop, everything has some command in the background that's being run. And so you're learning the basics of how to do that just with the blank prompt, just like typing in words and getting things done that way. It's really important, because what I've learned is, like, most computers, even if whether it's a firewall, your phone, ATMs, servers, workstations, it doesn't even matter the form or function of the computer. They all have some back end command line interface. And if you know that, even if the thing dies, you can get into the command line interface and you can fix it, you can hack it, you can manipulate and modify it. It's very important to learn command line and get comfortable in command line, just like Big Gay Mike says. Now it's time to get your own government contracts, 8 to 9 figure deals. Somebody said, do you have to know how to code to do cybersecurity? This is a great question. I bet. Let me see if anybody has already answered this. No, you don't. Let me answer it. So the question is, do you have to know how to code to get into cybersecurity? And there's a big camp that says yes. There was a huge argument on like Reddit about this, and some people are saying yes, you do stuff. And I would say no, you don't. Why? Because I'm not a code. I mean, I do it for fun on my own, but at my job, they don't have a requirement for me to know how to code. And the last 2-3 jobs, I didn't have to code at all. Like I didn't have to know anything, not scripts, nothing. And so no, you don't know how to code. Here's why. Let me explain. There's different types of cybersecurity guys. It's a very, very broad field. Now, some people in this field will break it up into two things. Like one's information security and one is cybersecurity. And the difference being, if I understand how they think, is cybersecurity is more technical and it's managing technical risks to systems. So those guys, they would say more technical, that they might have to at least know scripting or something. And then they say the other side is information security, which is more like GRC, governance, risk, and compliance. They're doing compliance stuff. They're writing documents. They're guiding people. It's not like cybersecurity. It's not technical. So that's for me, I put it all in one big ass bucket. It's all cybersecurity because there's so much overlap between all these fields. This is coming from somebody who's been very technical. I've done the very technical side and I've done the non-technical side. And I'm telling you, there's so much overlap between the two that I'll give you specific examples. The cybersecurity technical guys who do know how to code, they have to sometimes write policies. They're supposed to do documentation if they're doing rules on the firewall, they're supposed to do documentation to explain what the rules are in the firewall. If they're managing the firewall effectively, they're supposed to have a disaster recovery plan. All that stuff is information security. That's GRC stuff. There's just so much overlap. And if you're a non-technical person, meaning you don't have hands-on, you still have to have a very good, strong understanding of the IT and security fundamentals. You still have to know and understand how best security practices and why best security practices are important on an IT system. So there's just so much overlap between us. That's why I say put it in a giant bucket. So back to your question. Do you have to know how to code to do cybersecurity? No, you don't. And here's why. Some of us, like myself, I'll give you myself as an example. I don't know how to code. I make 6 figures. I work from home. The last 3 jobs, I have not had to learn how to code. Why? I'm an information system security officer. What I do at this particular role that I'm at right now mostly is vulnerability management, to be honest with you. Vulnerability management, I do some program management type stuff where I'm doing all these meetings and I'm getting all of these brilliant people together in one room and we're talking about how to come up with solutions to fix certain things. We do plan of action and milestones. We have a plan of action to fix certain things. I don't have to know how to code to do a plan of action and milestone. I don't have to know how to code to manage vulnerabilities. I don't have a need to code. There's some people on our team who know how to code. That's their job, but they don't know my job. So there's pieces of the puzzle I need to do and focus on, and there's pieces of the puzzle that these other stakeholders have to know. And maybe some of those guys have to know. Some of those guys do have to know how to code. And we're all on the same team. We're all doing cybersecurity work. What are we doing? We're managing the security posture of our system. We're all on the same team. Some of us are doing more documentation and making sure that everybody's getting steered in the right direction. Some of us have to be in the code and actually programming. So no, you don't have to know how to code. Should you know how to code? I would say you should do a little bit of it so you understand it. But you'll take a class on it. You'll learn HTML, maybe a bit of C++, C sharp, something. I don't know what they're doing these days. I don't even know what they're doing these days. That's how long it's been. Do some code on your own is what I'm saying. So you understand it. But when you get in the field, if you're doing GRC stuff, they're not going to ask you. They're going to be like, hey, Bruce, man, I need you to code. We need you to code. We need you to, we have this, a PowerShell script that we want you to write because we need to implement this security feature. Listen, I don't even have privileges where I'm at. I can't. Not only do I not know how to code, they don't even give me privileges. I'm like a high-paid security secretary, man. I mean, but there's been other jobs where I was doing more technical stuff, where I was implementing security controls on this, and I still didn't even know how to code. And they were still paying me six figures working from home. Listen, is it better if you know how to code? Yes, absolutely. If the more you know how to code, the better. Because the smartest guys on the team usually know how to code. I will say that the smartest guys on the team usually know how to code. Like the guys who everybody goes to, they know it's some scripting, at least some scripting. I will say that. Like they know some Python, they know Perl script, or they know, I don't know, the code of the day of whatever that company is doing. Those guys are usually the smartest guys, and they're the guys we all go to. Say, hey man, we need this power script done. And he's like, oh sure, gives us the power, does the power script to I don't know, fix some works with Oracle or whatever to do the code or whatever we need. Do you have to know how to code to do cybersecurity? No, it's a very big field. Not all of us know how to code. Just like there's an aspect of cybersecurity that is straight up math. It's cryptography. So cryptographers have to know math proofs and shit. Yeah, those guys. But not all of us have to know how to do that. I don't have to know how to do cryptography. Those guys don't have to know what I do. So it's just a huge field, and not all of us have the same skill set, including code. Okay, let me see. I hope that answers your question. I'm about to graduate with my bachelor's soon, and I don't know where to even start. Start now, Sergio. Start right now. This is what I tell every student. If you happen to be in school, if you're going into school, you're about to graduate, whatever, your master's, associate's degree, whatever it is, start right now. What do I mean? Put number one, right now. Don't turn this phone off and do this right now. Go to LinkedIn and create a profile right now. If you want an example of how to do it, you can follow me. You can just copy what I'm doing. I've got a downloadable template for my resume. Go to convocourses.net, download for free, download what mine looks like to get an idea of how to write ATS style resume. That's what you need, ATS style resume. Take that thing, upload it to dice.com, monster.com, LinkedIn, Indeed, any other ones you can think of. Do like the top 10, at least the top 10. At least the top 10. Put your profile on all of them. And when it comes to, like, you might be like, Bruce, I don't have no experience, man. What do I put on there? I'm not like you. I don't have 20 years of experience. Listen, put any type of projects you've done, put on there what school you're going to, and anything else you've done with IT or security, and then put what you're looking for. You can at least get an internship. That's not step number one. Step number two is right now, go to the school and see if they have any openings for a working student, even if they're willing to let you do stuff for free. Because what you're trying to do right now is establish your experience. Don't wait till you get that piece of paper, because it's just a piece of paper. What they really want is experience. Now, I'm not telling you that it's a waste of time to get a degree. I think listen, I don't think it, I know it, I see it. The way to get not only in the door, but get to six figures is to get a degree. That's what's, listen, you're competing with a very highly competitive market right now. Like maybe one day I see here all these doomsdayers saying, oh, AI is going to take over everything. You don't need a degree anymore. Okay, listen, I know it's not, it's expensive. It's a racket. They charge way too much for books. I agree. Tuition is fucking stupid. In some schools, it's the prices are going up and they're not paying us more to keep up with it. I get you. And I totally agree. But it is competitive out in these streets, and they're looking for people with experience first. And that degree goes an awful long way to back up your experience. The degree alone can get you an internship or an apprenticeship, which gets you experience, which gets you into more job opportunities. Don't wait until you get that paper. Start right now. Work on projects. Anything you can do. Join clubs, whatever you can. Join the local ISSA chapter. Write this down. The third thing you need to do. Join the local ISSA chapter, wherever you happen to be at. Join it, and then start to network with people. There's vendors that'll show up there. ISSA is the Information System Security Association, and it's where a bunch of cybersecurity and like-minded people, vendors, and IT professionals get together like once a month. In every city has one. Most cities have one. Most major cities have one. They get together like once a month or sometimes twice a month, and then they trade information. Sometimes they're talking about a vendor that's trying to sell a firewall to a bunch of organizations. Sometimes organizations are looking for people to hire, looking for students to intern. I'm telling you, they have all kinds of stuff, all kinds of free stuff, books, training, everything. So those are the three things I want you to do. That's where you start. Start now. Don't wait. Do not wait. The degree is not magic. It's not magic. Experience is magic. Okay, let me see. Somebody said, do you have any advice on where to start as far as a job search? Absolutely. Yeah, go on all those go to Google and type in top 10 job search sites and apply to all, and put your profile on every one of those things. It's a numbers game. At the end of the day, this is a numbers game. The more in your free time, as you're watching Netflix, you're watching Black Mirror, you're watching Stranger Things Part 4, which I heard is not as good as Part 3 and 2 and 1, or whatever you're doing. Start putting in, like, have your laptop there and then start putting in your profile. It's like, just put your profile in, start hooking it up. That's what you need to do, like, right now. A lot of people, they're not trying to hear me on this, but I'm telling you, that's what you do. It's just apply. It's a numbers game. Apply, put that profile everywhere. At the very least, other people are going to start seeing you. The next step, once you put that out there, start looking for internships and apprenticeships. You already have an advantage because you're a student. They're looking for students. They're looking for people who are serious enough to put their money where their mouth is and their time investing into just learning the common body of knowledge for IT. And that's you. So you need to make yourself known so they can find you. I'm also in vulnerability management. You feel my pain then? What credentials would someone need to get started in your field? First, I know it sounds like a broken record, but you need to get you need to know. Let's start from somebody who doesn't know anything, okay? I know I'm talking to like 3 different levels of people. I'm speaking to people who are in one field and trying to get in this field to make that bag. I'm speaking to people who they're geeks, they're in the field, they have their foot in the door, but they're trying to level up to be GRC or cybersecurity. And I'm speaking to people who are already been doing this for a long time, like myself and Big Gay Mike, who has been obviously been doing, like, this guy, he's saying all the right things. Like, listen to this dude. So I'm speaking to 3 different levels of people. So let's speak to each one of them. Let's start off with the easiest, which is people on my level. Credentials that we normally have. We normally have some sort of degree. Associates, bachelors, and masters. The most effective for your time is a bachelor's. Masters is for people who are trying to get a management type role, and then associates is usually entry level job. So bachelor's is most bang for your buck, right off the bat. From an accredited college, okay? Most of us have it, not all. So just because you don't have a degree doesn't mean that you can't be high paid, because some of my mentors, some of the people who mentored me were the most brilliant people I knew. When they were mentoring me, did not have a degree. By the way, they all have a degree now because they know the game. Okay, so let's talk to, another thing we have is we have usually at least one certification. We usually have at least one intermediate to expert level certification. I'm talking about Security Plus. I'm talking about a CISSP, a CISA, a CISM, something like that, and CEH, OSCP. Well, we normally have some intermediate, like a Security Plus on up certification. Another thing we usually have is at least 3 to 4 years of experience or more. The people on my level usually have a 3 to 4 plus experience in doing security. So that number one. Okay, so that's the top echelon of people who I'm talking to. Mid-tier. Let's talk about the mid-tier people. These are people who they have their foot in the door. They already have some experience. They already have some IT experience, but they're trying to level up. So these people are normally working roles like customer support tech, help desk, or maybe some kind of offshoot, like they're a cable guy, right? Which is a variant of like a help desk type person. A field tech is what they are. For these people, they're usually kind of flirting around with a security certification. They usually have some kind of certification, whether it's a vendor level, low level vendor level 1, or like an A+ certification, or they have some, or something from whatever company they work for. They have some kind of certification, but now they're flirting with the idea of, man, I need to level up. I need a Security Plus. And so for these people, for them to level up, what they need to do is get that Security Plus. Get the Security Plus. Another one that I would recommend is a CEH. My man, he doesn't recommend CEH, but I mean, I think it's marketable. So I would say yes. Another one would be CYSA Plus. That one seems to be floating around. That one's pretty popular. I personally don't have that one, but that one looks pretty, people know what it is. Those kind of certifications, the security level mid-tier certification. Another one will be any kind of cloud certification. That's a way to level up from there, from where you're at. You're a help desk person. You've been doing it for 3 years, whatever. Now you're trying to make that big money. Another thing you can do if you don't already have one is get a degree, or at least start a degree, because some companies will pay you more if you just say, I'm starting a degree. I'm working on a bachelor's degree in IT, and then just start on a bachelor's degree. Go to, I don't know, one of these online schools, an accredited school. Like, be serious about it, right? I'm not telling you to lie on your resume. I'm telling you, like, start a degree, and then go for it. But just putting that on your resume is going to help you out. So let's talk to the hardest ones to talk to is the people who, they're brand new. Like, they're working retail and they're trying to level up. They're trying to come into this field, and they see my bald head ass talking about cybersecurity, making 6 figures, working from home. And they're like, damn, that's what I'm talking about. Right. Listen, you got a long journey. I would keep it 100% real with you. You got a long journey. There's a lot for you to learn. I'm not saying it's impossible, but This is not a push button. Like, this is not, you can't just, this one, like right here, you got to get the knowledge, the basic IT knowledge, and then start working on getting experience. Like, you got to have hands-on knowledge of what's going on here. That's where all of us start. Most of us start from there. Not all, but most of us start from there. I'm just telling you how I started. That's the way I know. I know that some people start off with no hands-on. There's some people who start off absolute zero college. I'm telling you how I got to this point right here, and I'm telling you how to do it. So number one, you got to get the knowledge. Start off small. Don't spend any money. Go to YouTube, start watching, learning how computers work. You might not want to do this. This might not be for you. There's other things that make six figures that are going to probably fit you better, fit your lifestyle, fit what you want to do. This is not for everybody, right? So, but if you're willing to put in the work, you have a little bit of excitement to get in this field, because you're going to make that, you could see it so clearly. You know this is making money. You know this is solid. The data is not lying. Your cousin is doing this. Your brother, sister is doing this. You're like, damn, they're driving a damn Tesla. You're like, that's what I'm talking about, right? And you're willing to put the work in. Yeah, it's worth their time. It's recession proof. Listen, COVID-19, I probably made more money in my life during COVID-19. Shit, like, we've had what, 2 recessions so far? I was buying houses at that time. I'm not trying to brag. This is not bragging. Listen, I'm not a millionaire. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying, like, if you can do this, if I can do it, you can do it too. And it's worth it. It's recession proof. Right now, it's not going to last forever. It's something. Eventually, IT will fizzle out. Eventually, it won't be like this. I think that what's happening with this field is it's kind of like it's following the same trend as healthcare did. Like, if you go back like 200 years with healthcare, if you look at how it grew, like, it grew up with doctors were making pretty good money, and a doctor would do like several different things. But as the career path started to change, they start to have more advances in science. They start to know more about the human body. They start to specialize in brain surgery. Like, you didn't have that kind of stuff hundreds and hundreds of years ago. I mean, you had something like it, but now you have people who that's all they do. You've got people who only focus on feet, people who only focus on hands, on ear, mouth, throat. You have people that's the direction that cybersecurity is going. I mean, IT as a whole is going, where it's getting a mile deep in like one thing, and it's getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper in that one thing. Cloud is getting deeper and deeper in one thing. GRC stuff's getting deeper and deeper and deeper in one thing. And you got these people who are making hundreds of thousands of dollars and just doing one damn thing. Those guys, it's all just going to get deeper and deeper in all those different things. And that's kind of what's happening right now with our field. It's growing. It's growing, and it's getting deeper and more complex. Right now, I think it's a golden age of IT and cybersecurity, because it's a free-for-all. Like, people are just getting hacked left and right. Governments are still getting hacked. Just think about that. Governments who literally hold people's lives in their hands are getting hacked by 20-year-olds, by people fresh out of college, by one person infiltrating a government's network. We're in the golden. It's still the wild, wild west. It's still the wild. One individual can take out Colonial Pipeline or critical infrastructure thing. Like, it's because it's the wild, wild west still, and we're still learning. Now, it's happening very, very fast. And it will continue to evolve and change. I don't think the AI is going to suddenly nuke all of IT, because at the very least, you need an IT professional to guide the AI. And another thing that people don't think about when we're talking about AI, especially when we're talking about dealing with sensitive information, is that the system doesn't have a great deal of assurance, meaning if you're going to trust it with making you millions of dollars and putting it out front, all it has to do is make one mistake and you've wiped out quite a bit of your money or reputation or whatever. And no organization right now is willing to take that kind of risk. Give you an example. With artificial intelligence. And it's cool. Like, I really like a generative. I use it quite a bit, actually. ChatGPT is really fun to play with. Gemini is fun. All the other ones. Every time they have a new one, I'm on it. Like, I'm messing around with it, everything. I pay for subscriptions. I love it. I'm not like an AI hater. But what I will say is, give you a specific example of how an organization relied on it. Only a little bit. And what happened to them. Samsung, this is news. You can go Google this or whatever. Samsung allowed their top engineers to use ChatGPT to help them with some sensitive proprietary information that they had to develop some new thing. Samsung is highly advanced. I mean, they got cars, they got televisions, they got not just phones, they got all kinds of stuff. They got storage devices, refrigerators, everything, right? And they're on the bleeding edge of several technologies. They're no joke. That said, they're competing with other huge players from the US, from China. Samsung's from Korea. They're competing with people from the US, from China, from Japan, like organizations that are no joke. So if something leaks out that they have that's a secret that's going to give them an advantage, they're not trying to leak that. They use ChatGPT and they allowed their engineers or top engineers to use it. Their engineers put some of that stuff into ChatGPT. They had some storage or something. I can't remember what it was, but they put that in there, asking questions to chat from this generative AI. Well, what happened was, right after that, ChatGPT had some kind of vulnerability where it leaked. It was leaking people's prompts, so I could see what other people were typing in. The reason why that's bad, if you've ever used it before, is that sometimes you have to put answers in the prompts. You have to put, like, for example, if I was doing some top secret Samsung intellectual property, and I've typed in the name of it and what the problem was, and then asked ChatGPT this question, some of the answers of what I'm doing is in the prompt. And so they hit enter, and now it's stored in ChatGPT, OpenAI's servers. So that means that their technicians can see that. And not only that, but they had a leak at the time where it was showing everybody's prompts. So everybody was seeing stuff. So Samsung said, okay, nobody in our company can use this until we figure out how to close the holes. And then they went to OpenAI and was like, hey, could you take that down? And OpenAI is like, hey, look, it's in the policy that your stuff is not, we're not trying to protect your information. Like, we told you, this is open AI. Like, it's, what do you want us to do? Like, your people read the description on what, like, you can't put top secret information in. You shouldn't put your social security number in here. You shouldn't put any kind of intellectual property in here. But that's what they did. And so my point is, even with AI, like, there's a certain level of confidence or assurance that an organization needs to have before they entrust so much sensitive information to a system like ChatGPT or any other system for that matter. And they're working on it. I mean, it's coming. Probably what you could do, what's already being done right now, is you can do an internal ChatGPT, an internal generative AI that only Samsung or only the Department of Defense can see. And then that way, nobody else outside can see it, their prompts, because it's internal. You could do something like that. And actually, people are already doing it. And I think Amazon already has some solution for that. It's called Bedrock. And then there's a couple of other competitors out there that are coming. Google is starting one, and a couple others. It's coming soon. This is the same thing happened with cloud when it came out for the first time. Would you happen to know any CYSA trainings in DMV area? I don't know off the top of my head. To start off CYA training, what I would do is go to Udemy. I would go to Udemy first and pay the, if they have a deal, sometimes you can get it for like $3 or something. You can get it for like $18 or something like that. But even if it's like $100, $200, it's worth your time to get to pass that CYSA. Invest in yourself. Another thing you can do is books. Like books are only $20, but Udemy or some kind of video course like that, where they're just kind of breaking down each one of the domains in CYSA or CompTIA Security Plus or whatever. Those are pretty good. I mean, that's, you want to use different sources to get the knowledge, to understand what's going on. Like, you not only read a book, but also watch videos and stuff like that. You said you were an information security officer. Yeah, information system security officer, actually, ISSO. So that is a fancy word for a GRC officer, like a governance, risk, and compliance officer, or a compliance officer. Many different industries have something similar to what I do. And so what I do is help to maintain the security posture of the organization. That's a fancy word of saying I'm helping to make sure that the organization is compliant with the laws and the standards for our industry. And so for our industry, we have to be in line with something called FISMA, or the Federal Information System Security, the Federal Information System Modernization Act of 2014, and NIST 800. NIST 800 is actually it's lined up with FISMA. If you do NIST 800, you are automatically compliant with that law, if that makes any sense. So what I do is I'm saying, okay, I'll give you a specific example. I'm not the one putting in the password complexity in the server, but I'm the one who's assisting the assessors when they run an assessment and say, okay, let's see if this organization is actually using an 8-character password that has upper and lower alphanumeric numbers and special characters. They're making sure it's not 8 characters, like more like 20 characters, whatever it is, right? But I'm making sure that, okay, are we doing this? Okay, we're doing it on this system. These are servers. Are we doing it on workstations? Okay, is it in our policy? Is it written in accordance with how NIST 800 is supposed to have? Okay, it's there. All right, we've got that there. So I'm doing that, but I'm doing it like hundreds and hundreds of times on thousands of computers throughout the environment. It's a lot of work, but it's way too much work, to be honest with you. But that's what I'm doing. So other industries do the same thing. I'm in the federal government, but you also have financial sector, and they have their own set of rules that they have to go by. You have the retail sector. They have their own set of rules they have to go by. And they all have some kind of compliance officers kind of looking over the shoulders of everybody and saying, okay, do we have a policy? Okay, let me read it. All right, we're missing something. This policy is outdated. Maybe we should update this. Okay, let's run a scan. Let me look through the scan information. All right, looks like this scan, this one right here is a false positive. This right here is real. Let me go meet with the security team. Let me meet with the server guys and see if we can understand what's going on here. That's the kind of stuff that I do. And every industry has a person like myself. So ours is called, in the government, it's called an information system security officer. But I've seen it in other sectors called just compliance officer. In healthcare industry, it's called like a HIPAA officer or something like that, where they're making sure the hospital or healthcare facility is in compliance with HIPAA, which is another federal another law that healthcare industries are supposed to use to protect patient information. Let me see here. Just reading through comments. Somebody said, I'm learning about GRC now, audit and compliance. That's awesome. How to make the jump to GRC with DS and NOC, 8 years of experience, security plus, no cyber experience, applying like crazy, no calls back. Okay, I can tell you, you are my audience. So it's gonna be your resume. So let me explain. Number one, you can actually follow along with what I'm about to tell you by downloading my resume for free. You can go to my resume and download it to get an idea of what a GRC resume, that shitty resume that you're going to download, my ATS style shitty resume that you're about to download for free, has gotten me several jobs making over $100,000 a year. I'm doing something right. That's what that means, right? Not bragging, but I'm just giving you a little bit of social proof. Like, I haven't had a problem getting a job with that shitty resume that you're about to download. It works. So download it and then look what I put in there. What you'll notice is I'm putting frameworks in there. You got to put framework. And you say, I don't have cyber experience. You do. See, that's the trick. You do. If you said you've done DS and NOC experience. That means you definitely have security experience. You definitely have cyber security experience. Let me explain. So if you've ever created an account on a system, you've done what's called account management, which is one of the controls that every organization should have. And that also means if you've locked that system down, if you've locked down that account, you've done some level of access controls. If you've locked the system down, you've also done access controls. If you've turned on audit logs, you've done auditing controls. You see what I'm getting at? What you want to do is put all the security things that you've done on your resume. And that's what, if you look at my resume, you'll see that's what I did. I've done tons of other stuff. I've done networking. I've done physical security. I don't put none of that shit on my resume. I just focus on exactly what I'm trying to get hired for, which is GRC. So I'll put GRC stuff. You want to put whenever you've written a policy or procedure. If you worked in the NOC for 8 years, I guarantee you've had a hand in doing a procedure, work instruction. All those count. They want somebody who can listen. Here's the intent of what I'm trying to tell you. I want you to understand. What they're trying to get is somebody who knows the framework. And I'll explain what I mean by frameworks in a second. Knows the framework and the laws and how to apply them to the organization. What framework and laws should be your natural next question. All right. So every industry has different laws and different standards. And I'll just run down a couple and it should click in your mind which ones you have worked with. So number one, if you don't know which one, if you just really don't know at all, more than likely you're using one of two. You're using something called the CIS controls, CIS V8. Google it. CIS V8 has a basic breakdown of all the security control categories that every organization has to have. It's basic security practices that I'm certain that you have had a hand in. And once you read it, once you see the CIS V8 controls, you'll be like, oh shit, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. You've probably done everything on that list. So that's one, right? Another one that you might want to look into that I guarantee your organization is doing in some way, shape, or form is called the NIST CSF. You probably like, I never heard of that. It's NIST Cybersecurity Framework. And what they do is they break down the common security best practices that every organization, doesn't matter if it's Walmart, a mom and pop that's taking people's credit cards, whatever, every organization should have basic security that they're doing. And if they're not, they're probably going to get hacked, or they probably already are being hacked. It's things like identifying what our organization does as a business, identifying what is our main business and mission. Every organization should do something like that, right? Once you identify your main business and mission, then what are the main pieces that we use to maintain that mission, that business? It could be a server, it could be a website, it could be an app, it could be any combination of those. It could be a network that your services that your people use. All of those things could be components within your organization. So now you're going to identify those things. And there's a whole bunch of other list of things that are just basic things. Like, of course, we protect those things. How do we protect those things? It's stuff like that. That's the NIST CSF. Basic security practices. That stuff got to be on your resume. Now, what they want to see is how did you apply those frameworks to the organization? And that's where you got to focus on your resume. Let's talk about frameworks for a second, very briefly. There's many different industries. When I say industries, I mean there's government industries, there's healthcare industries, there's banking industries, there's retail. Each industry has a different thing that they're focused on. Retail's focused on their main moneymaker, which is credit cards. Whenever you go to Target or Walmart or wherever you, TJ Maxx, whatever, you run your credit card, that credit card information has to be protected, right? I mean, you hope that it is, right? And they're not going to get hacked or something. The standard that they use is called PCI DSS. So if you're in a knock that's doing for TJ Maxx or something, then you're going to want to know PCI DSS. Like you're going to want to know that. If you're in the healthcare industry and you're in a knock or a SOC that's doing the healthcare industry, or you're a help desk doing healthcare and whatever, IT work doing healthcare, it's going to be HIPAA, right? A HIPAA, like with HIPAA, every healthcare professional can tell you what HIPAA is, and they can tell you how to protect basic patient information. So you as an IT professional doing GRC for healthcare industry, you're going to have to be able to explain how I protect. What have I done to implement HIPAA throughout this organization? I wrote a policy for HIPAA. We wrote a policy for healthcare tools that we're using in the organization. We made sure that those were secure by applying. I'm just making shit up at this point. Antivirus throughout the whole environment, stuff like that. If you're in my industry, which is government, the government uses NIST exclusively, NIST 8, not exclusively, we have other things too. But the main one is NIST 800, Risk Management Framework, and NIST 837, NIST 853. That's mainly what we use. So I have to be able on my resume to explain how did I apply NIST 800 controls in this organization? How did we become compliant with FISMA? How did we become compliant with NIST 800, stuff like that. So you've got to be able to apply the framework of whatever industry you're in, and you got to put it on your resume. How did you apply the framework to that particular organization? And that's what a lot of people, like when people send me their resume, usually they're not putting that on their resume. They're not. That's the stuff that GRC people want to see. Like your headhunters. That's really what they want. The keywords they're looking for is they're looking for governance, risk, and compliance in that industry. If it's retail, it's PCI DSS. If it's healthcare, it's HIPAA. If it's government, it's NIST 800, NIST CSF. If it's like every industry has some sort of standard or framework. Hope that helps. The job market is very tough these days. Yes, it's not easy, but there is a trick to it. There's a cheat code, and the cheat code is to put your resume out to as many places as possible. That's the cheat code. Like fail hundreds of times. It's a numbers game. You got to get your resume right. You definitely have to get your resume right. Okay. So, and then put it everywhere. It is tough. I mean, even for me, like I got to put my stuff out everywhere. I got to put it out everywhere. And I'm still like, I'm super aggressive with it. So not only do I put it on, I literally put it on 10 different job search sites, my resume. I put how to contact me. Now I got to be very careful because I'm putting it everywhere. So I use I don't use my main phone number. I use a different phone. I've got 2 phones. I use the other phone. Another thing you do is there's a way you can get a virtual phone number that forwards number or takes calls or takes people's voicemail, whatever. I put a throwaway email. I put a throwaway phone number. I don't even use my real name. I don't even use my real name. So that's what I do. And because I'm putting it everywhere. So hundreds of people are going to see it. So I got to be very careful about that. Because you will get calls. If you do what I'm telling you to do, you will get calls. It'll get kind of disturbing. It will disturb your day. It does work. Everybody who's actually done it, they come back to me and say, "Hey, Bruce, I'm getting so many damn calls. You were right." Yeah, it works, man. Just put out as many as possible. I put it out on 10 different job aggregators. I do the whole profile, 100% done. Like even put a picture out, right? And some people, one person said, "Well, what if they see that I'm black? Like what happened?" They should see it. Like they don't want to hire me, then I don't want to work for somebody like that. You know what I mean? Let them see your face. Another thing you need to do is be aggressive about applying for jobs. Once you put your resume out there on 10 different websites, apply. Fail hundreds of them. The more you fail, the closer you're going to get to success. All right. Recession proof does not greed proof. Greed focused layoff proof. Does not mean focused layoff. Recession proof is a good saying. I like what you're saying here. Recession proof does not mean layoff proof. Listen, they can lay me off, but I'll just get another job. That's how I feel about it. These days, nobody's loyal. Like the companies aren't. It's not like it used to be where you can just stay with a job for 20 years. It's just not like that anymore. There's no loyalty. I'm ready to go at all times. Right? If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. You know what I mean? Like my resume is always ready. I'm always getting calls. I'm always getting emails. And I'm always evaluating. Do I want this job? Nah, I'll stay where I'm at. Do I want this job? How much does it pay? Is it remote? Nah, I'm good. That's what I'm doing. Like they can let me go. Hell, I've thought about just leaving. I mean, that's the game that we're playing these days. You know, there's no, you know, when I was in the military, I had this foolish notion that once I got out, I'd work for some company. I was so excited to be a company guy. Got out the military and I was working for some company. And I'm not going to name names. I want to, but they're pretty much all the same. Most of them are the same. There's a couple of exceptions I've worked for. But this one company I worked for, gigantic company, and I'm working for them, and I just got married. No, we just had a kid. I'd been married, but we had a kid. I just moved into this state, and they relocated me there to work at this place right out of the military. And I just got a house, and everything. My wife at the time got sick. And I'm only like a week into working there, and they're not going to just give people leave. When you get leave or vacation at a company, they usually give you, it usually takes a year to accumulate the amount of off time that they'll give you. And my wife at the time just kept getting sick. And then one time and I was taking time off. I was taking up all my leave time, here and there, and they were cool with that. But then it came to a point where something really bad happened. She was hospitalized, and I needed a few days, maybe 4 days, to watch my daughter. And I went to my boss and I said, "Hey, man, I'm sorry to do this to you, but my wife is going into the hospital. Can I watch? I need to watch my daughter. Can I get more time?" And they said no. And I was like, what the hell? It's like it occurred. And these are people who I had worked all these extra hours for. Let me just frame this. Okay. I'd worked all these extra hours. I was willing to do anything for this company. And I was only a few weeks into this company, right? I didn't have enough leave saved up. I'd already taken some days off or whatever, but I'd worked all these extra hours for them. But then I realized when they didn't give me that time, I'm like, they don't care about me or my family. They do not care, and they're willing to let me go at the drop of a hat, and I'm just a number to them. That one thing happened, and I was very disappointed. I was very, very disappointed. They talked a good talk when they got me in there, but then when it came down to something I actually needed, they bailed on me and my family. And I was just like, I was very disheartened. I'm like, damn. So that's what we're doing. And after that, I realized I had to fend for myself. We could not rely on no company. And I starting businesses. That's when I got serious. And I haven't stopped since. Some of the businesses have worked. Most of them didn't. But now I'm to a point where I don't really need a company anymore. I got my own. You got to take care of yourself. It's your responsibility to take care of your family. No company or government is they don't have an obligation to take care of you. They'll talk a good talk, but when it comes down to it, they don't have your back. And I hate to say that, but that's unfortunately, that's the world we live in. That's just how it is. Most of them, I mean, I worked for a couple good companies. All right. So I'm not saying all of them. There's been a couple really good ones. And there's been some organizations that really had my back no matter what it was. But even them, it really comes down to the dollar. Like if they're not going to do nothing for you if the contract runs out. They're not doing nothing but laying you off. Right. But you got to be ready at all times. That's what I'm saying. Be ready. Like use cybersecurity, use IT to make it so that you're always ready. And I'm always ready. I'm ready to leave if I have to. Not only the company, but the United States. Like, I'm ready. Let me see. I got some more questions. I got some questions on Instagram. Wow, that's crazy. I think most of these people are gone. I got like one person watching me on Instagram. Somebody said, in IT, can you speak to this if it's possible? Speak to what? Can you speak to this if possible? Oh, I'm in IT. Can you speak to this if possible? Okay. I didn't. I must have missed them. Oh. What the hell? It's the same questions I got from people are going from Instagram to TikTok to ask me questions. That's crazy. What the hell? Okay, here's one. Do you think that having a Security Plus certificate without a degree and no experience can land you a job? If yes, no, by the way. If yes, well, maybe, and I'll talk about it. If yes, how do you build a resume without a degree and experience? Okay, let's start with the first part. Can you do it with just a Security Plus? It's going to be hard because what they're really looking for is people who know how to do the work. They're looking for experience. There are things that you can do. Okay, what you could do is go overseas. If you're willing to move, if you're willing to relocate, if you're willing to work local and travel, if you're willing to make a huge sacrifice, your first job's not going to be a work from home 100K job. Okay, just get that out of your mind. With just a Security Plus, let's say you are willing to do whatever it takes. There's a few things you can do. You can go overseas. Overseas, not many people are willing to go certain places overseas because you're going to be away from your family for months at a time, possibly a year or more away from your family working overseas. But in that time frame, it's on the job training. They're going to train you to do what you need to do. And then, it's tax free for how much they pay you. You're going to be getting paid more than your average person with no experience. So that's one way you can do it. Now, if you're willing to one of the best ways is to work locally and find some kind of field tech job or customer service job, or like a field tech, for example, would be like a cable guy. So cable guy, I don't know what they call it, field technician. I'm not sure what the name, like the actual role is called, but cable guys, the guys who hook up cable at your house, they hook up internet, they hook up cable, all that. They have a very special place because actually that's an IT job. That's a basic IT job. They're doing the first level of the OSI model. They're literally physically hooking up devices at your house to the ISP. And so all they got to do is learn a little bit of network engineering, and they are golden because they're already doing some basic help desk stuff. They're already having to troubleshoot why the network's not working at that property. They have to know the difference between that modem device, a switch, and a router. They have to know They have to know what's the gate. What is a gateway IP versus a normal IP? What's network address translation? What they have to know basic network terminology and network concepts. And so that right there is a way to get experience. So you got local cable guy jobs. You've got you can go overseas, and if you're willing to travel a lot or move, you could probably find a place that's willing to try. Now you're going to be traveling quite a bit. Like you might have to go like across the state or something, and they'll have you going over here to fix something. But those guys might be willing to train you on how to fix that particular thing. And then you learn how to fix that particular thing. And then you're getting experience like that. You're doing basic troubleshooting. You're doing, but you're having to drive, 50 miles this way or 50 miles that way, 50 miles back, whatever it is. But if you're willing to travel, that's it. You're going to have to take a hit. It's not going to be, your first one's not going to be six figures. It's not going to be, but that's going to get you the experience and the first steps towards that end goal, whatever it happens to be. So the answer is yes. With the Security Plus, knowing the knowledge, like assuming that you took the Security Plus and you actually studied, basic information technology and security, you can, but there's going to be things you're going to have to sacrifice. You're going to make. My sacrifice was I was in the military. It was not easy. I was in the military. And that's another way. Like if you're willing to go work in the military. So the answer is yes, you can, but it's going to be a harder job. And then the other question was, how do you build a resume with no degree and no experience? This is what you could do. What you could do is just go on a profile, right? So right at this point, you don't really have much of a resume. So what you could do, what I would do, knowing what I know now, is I would go on as many job aggregators as possible. And I would just be honest. I'd put together something that was very honest about what I knew, my knowledge level, some of the projects that I've done, and I put that in my profile. And then I tell them that I'm looking right away. I just explain right in the top, right in the objective or the summary of the profile: Dice, Monster, LinkedIn, Indeed, Simply Hired, Career Builder, all of them. And then I put in there, I'm looking for an entry-level information technology job. I'm very excited to learn. I'm very excited to get my hands on the tools of the trade. I've already worked on VMware. I'm very familiar with networking. I've set up several networks in my house. That's one thing you can do. And then get experience. Like you could actually get local experience. There's local, especially if you know the information, like you can find communities, help them out to build out their Wi-Fi, help them to build wireless access points, help them secure those wireless access points, and then put that on your resume. You're a freelance information technology professional, and you did X, Y, and Z, and then put that on all of your profiles. You'd be surprised. Somebody's going to reach out to you. It might be some jobs you don't want to do, but like I said, you got to start somewhere. Let me see. Do you see yourself doing ISO type work in the next 5 to 10 years? Do you want to venture off and do something completely different? I am already doing something completely different. So if you watch my earlier videos, I was at an Airbnb um, business that I'm doing, and making money that way. So I'm making money several different ways. I'm already venturing off to do something else. Do I see myself doing this for the next 5 to 10 years? No. I'm probably going to end up teaching it like I'm already doing. I like to write. That's my real passion. That's where my bread and butter is, really writing. Like writing has knocked a lot of doors down for me. Um, it's my best skill. Like most of the money I've made has been from writing policies, writing procedures, writing books, writing training manuals. That's probably what I'm going to do the rest of my life. But information system security officer, I've already ventured off a couple times. I did cybersecurity analyst for a few years. I was building SIEM devices for about a year or so. I've already started doing business is really where publishing and writing is what I'm gonna is kind of what I'm splitting off, and real estate. Those are probably the next over the next 5 to 10 years. I'm transitioning into that, and this stuff is kind of gonna be a hobby. It's kind of like this is gonna be a hobby when I'm the actual ISO GRC stuff is gonna be like a hobby, and then my main stuff is gonna be writing. I'm already making the transition. It's gonna take me about 5 to 6 years, I would say, maybe 10. Let's say 10. Let's say 10. 5 to 10 years to like make the full transition where I'm just not doing any of this anymore, and I can let my CISSP expire or whatever. I'm not there yet, but I'm already working on it. Somebody said, if this FISMA book is good, is the FISMA book good if you work as an ISO in the DoD? Yes, because if you want to understand FISMA compliance and what it is, what I do is like if you go to the actual legislation page and you can go to the legislation page and read FISMA, but it's to say it's difficult to understand is an understatement. It's a puzzle wrapped in an enigma, wrapped in some bullshit. It's like straight up legalese and legislative talk. What I do is I make a short book and break down what you really need to know about FISMA. It's a short read. I'm going to make an audio book out if you just want to listen to it. I'm working on it. That's going to take me a while to do. I'm working with the artist to read it and everything. Kim Pepper, she's working on it right now, so that'll be done like within the next month. If you want to wait for that, like it's just a breakdown of what it is, and it does have a link to the actual. If you want to read the actual document itself, have at it. But mine breaks down what you really need to know about FISMA, what it is, why it's important, what it changed in the NIST, what it changed in other acts. So it's a good something to really fully understand what FISMA is. Let me see. Okay, I've got a couple other, and I apologize in advance if I don't get to your questions. I've already been talking for almost 2 hours. I've already done one earlier, so I think I'm going to cut this one short. Maybe I'll answer one more question. Let me see. What's it going to be? Oh, okay. Here's one. Last question. Somebody said, which aspect of cybersecurity requires coding? Which aspect of cybersecurity requires coding? It depends on the role. What do I mean by that? So when you go to job descriptions, it'll tell you what they need. It'll tell you they need scripting in Python. It'll tell you we need you to know C++, C Sharp. We need you to know Java. We need you to. It'll tell you, the job description determines who has to know it. Okay, but let me really answer your question. There's a few cybersecurity professionals that really do need to know something a little bit more about coding. And those are, one is application security guys. So application security guys need to know something more than the average person about source code and about coding and about how to secure code. Another one would be there's a branch of GRC work that focuses entirely on code, and they have to know something called, I believe it's called OWASP, and that is a framework for securing software. And so those guys need to know a little bit more about source code and making secure code and things like that, libraries. And then the other ones are software engineers. Like there's software developers who they literally write code, but they also know how to secure code. Like those are the guys who would be they're in the development, they're DevOps, they're developers, but their focus is security of that code. So they know how to write the code, and they can look at the code line by line and know how it's written, if it's written securely, or if it's how effective it's written, and things like that. They literally eyeball it, and then they run it through. I can't remember they've got these high level source code assessment tools that will take all the code. It'll look at all your source code, and it'll tell you with an algorithm where the problems are. And this software is going to get much better with generative AI, by the way. Holy shit. Like it's going to get really good. But so these people, they know how to code, so they can like look at it line by line, like, why did they put this? This one has an open bracket. Why does it have an open bracket here, but not here? This is unsecure in Java code. And they'll be really deep in like one or two libraries. So those off the top of my head, those are the people who really need to know how to code. And I'll also say, like, some cybersecurity jobs do require you to know how to code or at least have some scripting. Like engineers, there's some on our team. We have information system security engineers where they're looking for people who know how to do some pretty advanced Python scripting. So those guys have to know how to code. So I hope that answers your question. I'm out of here, guys. I've been talking for quite a while. I'm surprised to have so many people watching me. It's kind of crazy, but thank you guys so much for watching. I will be back here next week for sure. I'll see you guys on the next one, and check out the book. It's free for the next 4 days. Download it. Give me some good comments. Give me some good reviews. Give me 5 stars. And I'm going to keep putting out free stuff if you do that. So thank you so much. Appreciate you. I'm out of here. Holy shit. I'm so tired. Oh man, the stream's still going. This stream is still going and I'm talking shit. Oh, my bad, guys. Hey, I didn't mean any of that stuff, by the way. It's okay. Everything's good. I have a hot mic. Yeah. Okay, guys. See you later. Peace.